I can see now that it was dumb to ask a Washington, D.C. police officer for advice on buying a gun. But I had never gun shopped before, and I was thinking she might direct me to a store nearby. Instead, she got annoyed. "You can go to any licensed dealer in another state or on the internet," she said. I later learned that there is only one legal gun dealer in Washington, and he doesn't buy or sell guns. He only transfers them from out-of-state dealers to D.C. residents. That's the Charles Sykes that Officer Brown had mentioned earlier. There is actually no place in the city where you can legally buy a gun. It's easier for the criminals. They just buy them on the streets. Officer Brown raised yet another issue. "But you can only get a gun on the D.C.-approved list," she pointed out. I had no clue what she was talking about at the time, but later learned that D.C. has a ban on so-called assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. The list is actually a compilation of guns that California, Massachusetts, and Maryland decided were allowed under their bans. D.C. saved time and effort by just using those states' lists. "You can get a Glock if that's what you want," replied Officer Brown. Of course, I'd heard of Glocks from TV and movies. I later learned that Glock is the standard sidearm for many police. You just buy it and then give the form to Charles Sykes downstairs, and he'll go pick it up for you and transfer it. I still didn't know where to find a seller, nor what it meant to transfer a gun. Officer Brown was still doling out the rules. "And if you get a semi-automatic, you can only get a 10-round magazine." "A 10 what?" I asked. I'd never shot a gun. To me, magazines still sounded like Us Weekly or Allure. Magazine, where the ammunition is," she said in exasperation. "Look, it's all in the packet here. I'm only telling you these things to help you, but you need to go through the packet." Officer Brown wanted to get rid of me, even though only one other person had come into the registration office and already left while I was standing there. The whole time I was in the office, the phone rang one time, and the call was resolved in a few seconds. Over time, I learned that the office was typically empty. The registration process is so arduous that few have gone through it. The bad guys, of course, aren't going to tell the police about their weapons. The good guys may not want the government knowing about their gun, or they don't have the time, money, or patience to jump through all these hoops. The year before the Supreme Court decision, 512 guns were registered to police and licensed security in the district. Once civilians were allowed to own handguns in 2008, the number of guns registered went up to 916. These could be new or old guns. Dick Heller told me that he took advantage of his newfound rights on August 18, 2008, and registered a gun during the initial 90-day amnesty period. He said re-registration 3 years later was no hassle at all. However, after the complex registration laws were enacted in 2009, the number of firearms registered decreased to 864. It went down again in 2010, with only 854 guns registered. The convoluted process discouraged people from telling the police about their handguns. Perhaps because of dramatic increases in sales throughout the country, D.C. had an increase of newly registered guns, 1,215 in 2011. This was when I started exposing the onerous process in the Washington Times. As the series led to the City Council passing a law in 2012 to make registration a little less expensive and time-consuming, D.C. saw the biggest jump in registrations to 1,701. Still, these are bizarrely low numbers for a city of 630,000 residents. Nationwide, nearly half the population, 47%, has a gun in the home. Anyway, I thanked